This video series is about Mifare Ultralight C tags. Mifare Ultralight C tags are manufactured by the company called NXP. So this video series is going to be very long, and I'll be covering the following things. So first I'm going to show you how to use the Mifare Ultralight C tags using the ACR122u reader writer. Sometimes this Mifare Ultralight C is also called as ULC, the Ultralight C tags. So after that, I'm going to read through the Ultralight C datasheet. This is something I did for all the other tags as well. Then I'm going to show you how to use Mifare Ultralight C tags using the PN532 reader writer. So this is going to be helpful for people who are trying to use this in their embedded systems along with the microcontroller. Also going to show you how to use this tag using the CRHF95 based reader writer boards. And finally I'm going to show you how to use this using the OmniKey 5421 reader writer. And OmniKey is also one of the a very popular reader writer in the market. So some of the highlights of this tag. So these tags are very secure, unlike the Mifare Ultralight. The tags are compatible with the Mifare Ultralight tags. So you know that Mifare Ultralight tags do not come with any security. This tag uses 3DS authentication, so you can protect the data using the password, and this is based on the 3DS encryption. The communication between the tag and the reader is also encrypted, and there is no automatic permanent locking of the tag on wrong password authentication, which is found in the Mifare Ultralight EV1 tags. And also in Mifare Ultralight EV1 tags, the communication between the tag and the reader is a plain text. So what I try to mention here is, if somebody try to attempt with the wrong password, so there is no way the tag gets locked. So if you've seen my previous videos on the Mifare Ultralight EV1 tags, so there is a feature which can be configured between 1 to 7. So any wrong password attempts between 1 to 7 can permanently lock the tag. So this feature is not available in this Ultralight C tags. So these are not very expensive tags. You can buy them a pack of 100 for 38 pounds. And these are the best choice to migrate any existing Mifare Ultralight based tags which is not a secure tag. So these are some of the best choice, and I have seen many products which have migrated the system to Mifare Ultralight C tags as well. So I have done a few projects, both new where the Ultralight C tags are used, as well as migrated the old Mifare Classic or Ultralight based tags to this Ultralight C tags. This is the software we have been using in all my previous videos, and Mifare Ultralight C tags is available from version 1.4.1 onwards. So I have connected my ACR122u reader writer, and I've also chosen the reader here. So next you're going to choose the Mifare Ultralight C tags. So I'm going to place a brand new. So as you can see, this is the tag number 3. It means I've already spoiled two tags. So the first thing is the activate, and you can see here the Mifare Ultralight C tag has got 7-byte UID, and where the first byte 04 is the manufacturer code. So these are very similar to all the ultralight tags. The next I'm going to click on read tag. So this reads the entire the tag content. So you can see here the structure wise they're very similar to the Mifare Ultralight, and this tag has got more memory than the ultralight. You can see it has got 48 pages altogether, starting from page number 0 and up to page number 47. So as you can see here, the top 16 pages from page 0 to page 15, this is identical to the ultralight the ultralight. So I can use this tag just like ultralight. If you want to see the way you do that, I'm going to close here. I'm going to choose the Mifare Ultralight tag, and I'm going to place the Ultralight C. You can still do exactly all these ultralight operations on this Ultralight C tag also. So go back. Now since this has got more memory, so just after the page number 39, it has got what is called as a dynamic lock. So we know from the ultralight tag that the page number 2 has got the static locks, which are used to lock the first 15 pages, and in order to lock the page number 16 onwards up to page number 39, you can do that using the dynamic lock. It has got one counter, and this counter is a 16-bit counter, and after that you got two the configuration or auth configuration pages. We have seen these pages in the Mifare Ultralight EV1 tags as well. So I'm going to explain you all these things after I finish this introduction. And following this, the last 4 pages is where the authentication keys, the 3DS keys or the password is stored, and the length of the password is 16 bytes. So it's a very huge number and is also very secure as well. Now I'm not going to explain the top section, which is similar to ultralight, because we have seen this in many videos. So the one that is different from ultralight is the dynamic lock. So if you go to page number 40, the dynamic lock, the first 2 bytes are dynamic lock, and here is what I have shown you, the structure of the dynamic lock. Probably when I start reading through the documentation, you'll understand more about the dynamic locks. So here, there are 2 bytes, the byte B0 and B1. So totally we've got 16 bits, and each bit locks 4 pages. So unlike a static lock, if you go to static lock here, where each bit locks a single page, whereas in a dynamic lock, so each bit locks more than one page. So you got, for example, this bit locks page number 36 to 39, that is from here to here. And likewise, if you take you got a bit to lock the counter. Say for example, you got L41, so this bit can lock the counter, you cannot read and write the counters. And you also got the lock L43 and L42, and sorry, this L43 locks this the auth 0, the configuration 0 page, and this bit L42 locks the auth 0 page, and the other one locks the auth 1 page. And this bit here, the lock 44 to 47, locks all the 4 keys. Now I'm going to show you how to use this the authentication and the locks and the configuration here. So if you go to configuration and the password, there's a section called 3ds keys. So this section, here you can change the password or you can use for authentication. So for all new tags, they come with the default password, which is also mentioned in the documentation. This is as shown here. So you got 8 bytes here and 8 bytes here. So all put together becomes a 16 bytes 3ds key. Now in order to authenticate, if I hit this authentication, so you can see that the authentication is successful. Now from this point onwards, so you can read and write to any protected page. So I'm not going to change any password at this stage. Probably later on in future videos I'm going to show you how to modify the passwords. So if you can do the read and write everything as we did in the previous tags. I'm going to show you, for example, the configuration, the auth config 0. The auth config 0 has got only one piece of information, that is the page number from where you want the authentication to happen. So, and also the page 43, the auth config 1. So you can use this to set whether you want authentication for read and write or write only. Now I'm going to go, show you the most difficult one. So assume that I want to protect this tag starting from page. So before that, the default value means the value when you buy the new tag is set to 48. So there is no page 48. It also means none of these pages are password protected. So assume that we want to protect. So as you can see here, I cannot go less than page 3. This is what the documentation says. So I want to protect everything from page number 3 onwards, and I want that to be the read and write protection. I can't read and write. So if I'm going to write here. As you can see, everything is read and write protected. So I'm going to deactivate, try again, and I'm going to read. You can see that just after the page number 3, actually there's something else happening here. So the page number 3 was an error, but there is something called as a rollover, and so I'll come back to this in the later videos. So you can see here I could not read the entire tag. So I was able to read page 0, page 1, page 2, but afterwards I start getting this error. So the reason for this is we just protected everything from page number 3 onwards, and in order to read you have to first authenticate, just like any other Mifare tags. So whenever the tag receives an illegal operation like what we did now, it will go back to the ideal or the reset state. So the only way to use this is to reactivate. So reactivated. So probably the best thing is I'm going to close this thing. So we know that this tag is protected. So first thing you're going to do is authenticate. So as soon as authenticate, the software is automatically showing you the value of the keys, but keep in mind you can never ever read the values of the keys. They are completely protected. Now I know this tag is activated. Now if I click read, you can read everything after that. So I'm going to change this to just the write operation. So write. So what we did was we just set the tag to allow write, to allow read, and not to write without authentication. So I'm going to, you can just use this feature. The RF off is same as resetting. So the RF is off, so the tag is not powered, and you have to reactivate. And if I read, I can read, but let's try to, not very sure here, probably not best is, so this version is it's an early release. I better make it simple here. So I'm going to read. So the read is successful. I'm going to try to write to page number 4. So try writing A, B, C, D. You can see here all the various commands, and there's absolutely no difference between the commands used here and ultralight or ultralight EV1. So I'm going to write. Now this is a message given out by the software. So it's saying you're trying to write to a protected page and you need authentication first. However, if you click on safe mode off, so this makes the software allow to write as well. If you write, it's a write is successful, and we have seen this in my previous videos. So this message is purely based on the output or the response from the PCC command. This is 9000 is a success. However, if you try to do any further operations like read the tag, you know that the operation is it's an error here, because the tag just detected writing to a protected page and it reverted back to the idle state. So try again. So this time, so again we do the same thing again. I'm going to show something else here. So write it to, you can just pretend to write, and if you go and see the get status, you can see that there was an error in the RFID reader writer. We know that ACR122 is based on the PN532 reader writer. So if you try to read, so it's an error. So I'm going to write by first authenticating. So authenticated. So I'm going to get this as in safe mode. So this doesn't matter because we are already authenticated. I'm going to write, say A, B, C, D. So the write is successful. I can still, we don't know, because let's try to read. So if you're able to read, the write was successful. So likewise, I can also write for the entire tag using this section. Write everything from page number 4 to 39. Write. Now everything was written. If you look at the structure of the commands, there is a series of the write command going on here. If you look at this, this is the write command. There is no shortcut way to write more than one pages. You have to go through writing in a single page. This is very similar to other tags as well. Next, I'm going to show you how to change the password. So before that, I'm going to revert this back to 48 again. Write and write. Okay, now everything is unprotected now. Now there are a couple of things you have to keep in mind. So when you buy a new tag, you can change the password anytime. In fact, you don't even have to authenticate for change the password. So I just did it now. I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to change the password, and you have to have all the 16 bytes in the password. I'm going to change it so that I can remember, starting from A0-A1. When using this software, you have to put a dash there. Sorry, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, and A8, A9, AA, AB, AC, AD, AE, AF. Okay. Now this is my new password. So if I use the write, so I can also show you what's going on. There is no separate command to change the password. So you have to use a normal write operation. Now the write is successful. Now I'm going to explain this in the future videos. So if you look at the password here, it's A0 to A7 and A8 to AF, whereas the way they're stored in the tag is something different. So if you treat this as like a lower byte, and this is the higher byte, then you can just have to trace it from here. So A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7. So the lower byte is stored first, and the higher byte is stored at the end. Similarly, this section as well. So A8 starts from A8, A9, AA. So this is very well explained in the data sheet. We are going to revisit this when in the next video. If you look at the commands, so there are no special command. This is just a simple write or the update binary PCSC command. And because the password or the key is 16 bytes, I have to use 4 write page operations. So that's what it's all about. Now the password is changed, and I'm going to reactivate the tag. So if I try to authenticate, you can see that authentication failed. Now there's so many things happening here. I'll explain this in the later videos. I'm going to explain how the authentication is done. But here we know that this is not the password, so it is failed. And every time you send a illegal command, you have to reactivate. And let's key in the right password. So usually these things you have to remember. Okay, so I'm going to click on authenticate. So the authentication is done. So this is done by the software as soon as authenticated. So I'm just showing you the content of the last 4 pages. If you read this tag, so since this none of the pages are protected, there is no requirement for authentication. Now what you have to do is, as soon as you get a new tag, the first thing is you have to change the password, and you have to protect changing this password. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change. I need authentication from page number 44 onwards, from 44, and I'm going to protect the write. So I'm going to tell the tag, so page 44 onwards I need authentication to change. So I know that from 44 onwards is my password. So I'm going to also say that I need I need the authentication only for changing the password. So we know that you cannot read the password. It's not possible. So you can reactivate. So let's try to change the password back to so I've got a tiny tool here. Just hit this button, factory, you get this default password, and this button here, if you click random, it generates a random password for you. But keep in mind, these passwords are 16 bytes. You have to make a notes about all the passwords you use. Probably in the later versions I might provide a feature where all these passwords are stored in a file, so you can retrieve it. Okay, so you can see here, this tag is pretty simple, and the configuration also, it's not as complex as Mifare Ultralight EV1. However, this is, even though it's very simple, it's a very secure tag. So the 3DS key is what makes it so secure, because this is a 3DS, and even though 3DS is been a very old concept, because all the latest tags are based on the AES encryption. However, these are still considered to be more secure.